So today's lecture didn't quite go as planned. We were supposed to have somebody come in and talk to us about STIs, and I was really excited for that, and a little bummed that we missed out, and I do hope the lecturer is okay, and I'm curious as to what happened, but I definitely got a lot out of the lecture that we had about just everything. Like, there wasn't like one specific thing that we talked about that was like the biggest thing. I'm still trying to process our whole conversation over like, is being gay a choice or like a birth thing, and I don't quite know the answer to why it matters, and it's something that I'm gonna like mull over for the next week, and like hopefully by the end of the week I'll have a solid answer or a thought on it. But it was brought up that like in the gay community there's kind of like a lack of an expectation, just to like meet norms, like having kids and like certain jobs, like that kind of thing. And like for me personally, I feel like that lack of expectation kind of makes me feel like I achieve more because like the bar is like kind of low. So I know like I want to be a doctor, and so with the lack of expectation, you don't expect like gay people to go off and be doctors. Like that's especially like people who are already out. And so like I feel like, like I'm doing like better than great because that's where I'm headed. And so I think like having a lack of expectation can be a good thing, but it can also be harmful as well because you I feel like a lot of people feel the need to achieve more and say, well, hey, like I can do this. And another thing, like I took a lot out of like the homonormativity like construct that we talked about, and I think it's important to like break apart from it a lot, because then you don't quite feel like, if you're not like in this specific mold that you're wrong. But at the same time, I do feel like that's putting like kind of like a connotation on the people who do fit that. Like me being a femme lesbian, I do like butch girls. Like, is that wrong, or is that just the way it is? Because I don't feel like it fits with homonormativity. I think you're just attracted to who you are no matter what. And so I definitely thought that was everybody had really interesting points on it, and I thought it was good that it was brought up, especially when we talked about like body types, which I think is like a huge thing when it talks about the gay community, because you do have to fit like certain body types with, you know, what everybody's ideal gay is. So that's it was a fun lecture, and I'm really glad that we had it. I really missed out on the STI, and I was wishing that they would address in that lecture like the top 5 that they have here, and like why they are the top 5 as opposed to like other ones. So I don't know if like maybe we can have that lecture come up again and like make it up another day, or if it's just like lost information. But I'll probably do research on it.
Our discussion of BDSM was one of my favorites. I said that about like 3 of them already, but it's a topic that I myself am really interested in learning about, and I think it's really cool to hear other people talk about it, and it's just overall really fascinating to me, and I really enjoyed that Bear took time out of their lives to like come and talk to us about it. And I think one of the favorite things that I had about this whole lecture was we talked about like the difference between like 50 Shades of Grey and how BDSM is portrayed in the media and what it actually is. And I think so many people don't know what it really is because they don't actively like try and learn about it. They're just like, oh, I think I know what it is, so I'm gonna put it in like this category over here. And a lot of the times people put like that category into the queer category just because queer does mean different. And that's another thing that we really talked about. And you know, just breaking the whole thing down, Bear did say, and I quote, being kinky doesn't make you queer, and being queer doesn't make you kinky. And yes, you can be queer and kinky, or straight not, but they don't, one does not equal the other. And we also did like break down um like the thoughts of like what the LGBT community like entails, like if A should stand for ally, which it shouldn't. Um and like if polyamorous should be included or not. And it was it was cool to like hear the different opinions. I myself do think like trans should be included in it, and Bear didn't, and they did make good points. It's just how I feel, because I do know very many trans people that still identify as queer, and I think the identification of yourself is what puts you in that community or not. And we talked about a lot of other things too, like one of the biggest parts of BDSM is like aftercare. And when you think of aftercare, you just think of like bandaging up everything and like taking care of like physical wounds, but you don't really think about like the emotional ones. And a lot of it is like you're overcoming stuff and you're like reaching deep and down and dark. And when you come back, it's hard because nothing feels the same. And so having that aftercare is like the biggest part, but people often forget that, you know, the bigs need it too. And that's something that's always overlooked, because they're supposed to be like the boohoo macho ones, and you don't expect them to need it, but they do. And so I'm really glad that that was touched upon as well. And I hope that this lecture did help like classmates around me like give a little insight onto what it actually is and what it does entail. So last night I went to a sex show at Casa Rosa, and was not all it was all cracked up to be. There wasn't really a huge diversity of the people performing, which was really frustrating. They all had the skinny look with like the long blonde hair and like fake boobs, which is, fine, but like I wish there was some diversity, like in size and shape and color, and there wasn't. And I was also like frustrated because the men that were performing, like, they weren't like required to like look super sexy like the girls were. Like the one guy came out in like a wife beater and boxing shoes and underwear. Like that's like there were just different standards for men and for women, and nobody really looked like they were enjoying it. And the music choices were super sucky, but it looked like it was just a job to them, which it is. But like there was one girl doing a solo scene, and like she was dancing around and having fun, and she was awkward at times, but she, like, you could tell she was genuinely having fun. Whereas the other people performing were like, yeah, whatever. And so it was like hard to like feel a connection and to like really enjoy it because they weren't enjoying it. So definitely once in a lifetime experience, because I'm probably not gonna do it again. But I'm glad that I went, because not many people can say that they've done that. Um, I'm curious as like to if other places that do the sex shows have like more diverse women and men too, and like what their kind of standards are. So I think that's something that we should be thinking about when we look at like sex shows that are around here. This week I definitely learned a lot about the inclusions of people in the sexual community, and I was really surprised to find out that there wasn't like any body shaming in the BDSM community, and that really took me by surprise. Like it warms my little heart, and I'm really happy for it, but it wasn't something that I was expecting. And when it comes to like sex shows like that, there definitely is like standards and like a model that you fit, and there's not really much leeway of to who's accepted and who's not. So like when you see sex shows, you don't see like plus size girls. You don't. And so especially like when we talked about the sex robots, the only ones that were being shown on the video were those of like the thin people. So it's like there's also like that discrimination there too. I think with that knowledge of where discriminations lie, you can take that and like play it forward and find out like where you need to rethink your thinking, like how you're gonna change what other people are gonna want to see. And it's a big process, and it's not easy at all, and it's not for one person. I think it has to be a whole like world like shift of thinking so we can get rid of these discriminations and like perfect models in the communities. And I think that's something that everybody looks forward to in the future, but I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime. And it's kind of sad, but we just got to make it a little bit better now and have high hopes for the future.